Hi guys, this is Squishy Bee, and as you can hear, I have a voice again. So I'm going to read an article that is on the Chernobyl fire. This is dated today, April 23rd, 2020, and this is off of the Greenpeace website. I thought you might find this interesting. Early in the morning of April 26th, 1986, the fourth reactor exploded at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine. 34 years later, Chernobyl radioactivity is still circulating. The long-lived radionuclides, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but radionuclides, something like that, released by the accident mean the disaster continues decades on. The wildfire started on April 3rd due to abnormally hot, dry, and windy weather. They are now the biggest fires ever recorded in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, what is one of the largest wildlife areas in Europe. Will take years to recover. Oh, that's so sad. I was watching some of these really amazing pictures of animals in that area that are just flourishing, because they don't have people around, because it's the exclusion zone where people can't go due to the radioactivity from the disaster. So these guys have just kind of repopulated and taken over that whole area, and now it's just completely destroyed. Very much like the the fires in Australia, where it took out all of these adorable koala bears and everything. It's just so sad to watch this happen. But then now you have this added radioactive particles that are getting put out in the air. And I was actually looking through some of the comments on Twitter from people that live there, and it's really, they're very scared and they can't breathe. I was looking at some of the pictures that they were posting out their window, and it's just so full of smoke, and they're concerned about, breathing in all of this radioactive particles and stuff. So I ask that we all pray for these guys, that they are already dealing with the pandemic like the rest of us, but then to deal with this on top of it. In fact, someone else on Twitter I saw that lives in that area, not only were they dealing with the pandemic and this fire, but then they're like, and we're even having a sandstorm. Like, what the heck is a sandstorm? We don't even have those normally. So that was something that, all this weird, crazy new weather patterns and strange stuff is going on all over the world. We're in New York here almost to May, and it's been snowing all week. It's been like in the 30s. Well, right now it's 45 degrees out, but it was snowing like a blizzard here yesterday and the last couple of days. So I don't know. That's just unheard of here. It should be very warm, and normally we're out and able to walk, and flowers are blooming, and that sort of thing. It might be raining, but we don't see snow. It is in the end of April. This is just crazy. So anyways, moving on. As you can see, they're showing a satellite image of the wildfires here in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. With the Greenpeace Russia Forest Team and Global Mapping Hub, I have been following these wildfires since they began. Satellite image shows that an estimated 57,000 hectares, I'm sorry, I have no idea what that is, but of the Chernobyl exclusion zone has burned so far. That is 22% of the total area of the exclusion zone. What the heck is a hectare? Some type of measurement. I don't know, I'm sorry, that's a science that I've not encountered. Anyway, as I am writing this, 3 weeks after the start of the fires, at least 3 of the largest fires continue burning. One of them is located close to the site of the old nuclear power plant, only 4 kilometers away from the sarcophagus. Hundreds of ill-equipped firefighters and foresters are currently trying to get the fires in northern Ukraine under control. Oh man, it's terrible. The wind has carried some of the smoke over more populated areas. On the 16th of April, plumes of smoke caused smog in Kiev, 250 kilometers away, and although they did not exceed norms, higher levels of radioactivity than usual were detected. The smoke and ash have also crossed borders. The Norwegian Radiation and Nuclear Safety Authority registered a small increase in cesium-137 concentrations in the air in Norway. Oh no, our little brother over at Biblical Ways News is there. We'll have to check in on him and make sure that he is aware of this and keeps an eye on that. Increased activity of cesium-137 and other radionuclides in the air can lead to a rise in levels of cancer. Whoever can smell the fire could also inhale these radioactive substances. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. So yes, potentially dangerous radionuclides are traveling with the fire haze. This is due to the fact that since 1986, the forests have accumulated radioactivity, mostly concentrated in the wood and upper soil layers. This is why in the contaminated areas, the village dwellers living nearby are deprived of their right to use the forest for the next 300 years. Interesting. The inclusion zone surrounding the Chernobyl nuclear power plant is still 34 years later, heavily contaminated with cesium-137, strontium-90, americium? I don't know that one. 241, plutonium-238, and plutonium-239. All of it sounds really bad. I would imagine you wouldn't want to be breathing any of this in. Plutonium particles are the most toxic ones. They are estimated to be around 250 times more harmful than cesium-137. And showing a picture of this forest fire here near Kiev, Ukraine, 60 kilometers from Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Man, these fires. I mean, again, this is something that the Bible talks about, like a third of the forest being burned up. And we're seeing this already starting. There's going to be nothing left. It's going to be, I know that people are starting to wonder, are we in tribulation now? But it's going to be way worse. People they can't fathom how much worse it's going to be during tribulation. But these are warning shots. So if you think that this is bad now, just wait. Okay, it's going to get a lot worse. People can't even fathom what is coming. So they see these terrible things that are going on and they're unprecedented and they're like, oh, this must be tribulation. But they just have no idea what's coming and the magnitude. It's going to be like nothing that you could even think up in your mind. So let's not be here for that. Okay? Anyway. Fire releases these particles into the air where wind can transport them over long distances, eventually expanding the boundaries of radioactive contamination. There is currently no data on how much nuclear material has been brought into the atmosphere because of these fires, so we don't know how far they've traveled. It is possible that most of the radionuclides will settle within the exclusion zone and nearest area as they are heavy particles. We know from previous smaller fires that happened in the area in 2015 that scientists found a release of 10.9 TBq cesium-137, 1.5 TBq of strontium-90, 7.8 GBq of plutonium-238, my goodness, 6.3, what a list, 6.3 GBq of plutonium-239, 9.4 GBq of plutonium-239, and 29.7 GBq americium-241. What is americium? That's one I haven't heard of before. But it can't be good. It is clear that the numbers will be higher this year. Close to the fires, firefighters and local people are exposed to risks from both smoke inhalation and radiation. Cities like Kiev are exposed to the health impact of inhaling smoke in the short term, and in the longer term risk internal irradiation through contaminated berries, mushrooms, and milk, well, that's really specific. Brought on the local markets. Just berries, mushrooms, and milk? That's just such a weird list of things. Anyway, no one is immune from radioactive products getting into their homes. The consequences of Chernobyl are still here. People are still at risk, exposed, and fighting on the front lines. Forest fires in contaminated areas are a big problem for Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia, where 5 million people still live in contaminated areas, according to official data. Really? 5 million people still live in these contaminated areas? I always thought that they were further out, like they were forced out beyond that border, but it must still, maybe within reason. They must have them, they can't be within a certain radius where it would, really be damaging, but maybe they're allowing it in smaller amounts, kind of on the perimeter. I don't know. I didn't know that till now. Anyway, these fires happen almost every year. I didn't know that either. I know that because of the droughts and all of that sort of thing, that the heat rising, the fires are getting worse, definitely. But it seems like this year, oh my goodness, all hell is broken loose worldwide. And then we've got these volcanoes. There's like 45 volcanoes going off right now. They said it's like never been, this many volcanoes going off at one time. And clearly that's all connected. In fact, I've seen articles where people are having like cracks opening up with lava coming up through the cracks, like in their backyard. There's some weird stuff going on. Things are like oil is seeping out into the streets, like tar and stuff, and like fumes coming up out of the ground in weird places. There's some really strange stuff going on. And I think that it's all connected. And I think that we need to be watching some of these really big volcanoes. And there's so much predictive programming on like the volcanic stuff going off. Like that This Is How It Ends movie. That was a volcano in Seattle, I think it was. And there is so much predictive programming about like that Seattle getting wiped out. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if that movie is one of the closer to reality movies out there, because it talks about that they triggered a blackout, and then that really caused people to go crazy and kill each other and stuff, and that's very much based on reality, because there's so many experiments and studies and stuff done where they see how people behave in these situations and how quickly people it turns into like the purge when people have no way to communicate and find out what's happening. If all the power went out for not even a really long period of time, but if people had no way to communicate and find out what was going on, and there was no way to like call 911 or anything, it would be very quickly broken down of society. That I think that this is something they show all the time in movies. I'll have to do another video just on blackout symbolism, because there is so much of that. So anyways, I'm getting off on a complete tangent here. The Greenpeace Russia firefighting squad has helped several times to extinguish the fires on contaminated territories. This year, our firefighters have not been able to go on site to help due to the coronavirus pandemic. These forest fires are burdening an emergency ministry already in the midst of a health crisis. This goes to show that other emergencies can be exacerbated by nuclear-related incidents, a situation that we have little or no control over. Nuclear-related risks themselves are exacerbated by a lack of transparency. At the beginning of the fires, the first official accounts minimized the areas on fire by about 600 times. Secrecy was one of the reasons why the Chernobyl disaster was so severe in 19 1986. It was later confirmed in court that even the director of the Chernobyl power plant was not made aware of the disaster at the Leningrad nuclear power plant in 1975. That would have given clues to what happened in Reactor 4. Chernobyl will continue to pose a threat for many generations to come. You know, one of the other things that I saw when I was looking at this Chernobyl stuff with the fire was somebody was saying that it was due to some sci-fi cult that started these fires. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I don't know if that's true or not. This is definitely saying that this was due to the normal stuff they have every year, but just worsened this year with the hot, dry, and windy weather. So there was no mention of this cult, whatever this cult is. But I'll look into that, and if I can find out any kind of legitimate, confirmation of that, I'll bring that to you. But right now, this is what I had for this. I just thought that I would update you because I didn't see a whole lot that was new on this. This was the newest report that I could find from April 23rd. The rest were back like April 15th or something, so I was kind of unsure what the status was. But this is most current article that I could find. Anyway, so if I find something else later today, I will bring you another report. Thanks so much, and until later, I'll be seeing ya. Bye-bye.